Reddit is suing Perplexity, alleging that they, along with 3 other firms, have been illegally scraping information from Reddit's platform to train their Perplexity answers engine.
Are we going to start seeing ads in our ChatGPT, like Walmart partnering with OpenAI, and OpenAI is creating its own browser, instead of proving to people that you have the right product and the thing with a pretty website and like credibility from all these, you're going to need to prove to an AI agent that your product is what's needed for your customer.
You're going to need data centers that are as big as Manhattan.
My daughter, 12 years old, at schools, they're have AI in class now.
And so I feel like we're still kind of in a pocket where, the AI trade is on crazy.
Rush Hour Podcast, we're back. I'm TW's Justin. If you haven't heard of us, we're 2 tech guys, non-technical tech guys, talking about the tech news, the latest updates. Right now, the craze is, are we in a huge AI bubble? There's a lot of that talk. And then let's talk about some extra AI news with, Atlas and its browser. We've got Walmart partnerships. What does that look like? And then we've got Reddit versus Perplexity, more lawsuit things. But let's jump in. We always talk about the market, Justin. We were just talking about it before we started recording. The market is great. We're on a Friday, like we saw numbers go up, all green today, especially in this AI world. I'm heavily invested in it because we've talked about in the past. Before the election, I jumped out. Then I came back and said, "All right, if AI's taking over my job, I'm going to put my money in AI." That thing has gone bonkers, and I'm nervous. I'm like, dude, are we in a bubble? What's going on? I want to sell. I don't want it. FOMO, all these things. Where are you at with this? I want to hear.
I'm nervous like you, man. I mean, the mania seems very similar to, we were talking about this a few minutes before we jumped on, like around the crypto mania where you and I were super involved, and all these platforms and the BlockFis and everything else. And luckily, we were able to get out relatively unscathed during that period, but it just seems very frothy. And if you read any of the articles, that's whether it's in kind of tech news, you're reading Barron's or Wall Street Journal, et cetera, it's talking about, concerns people having in the market and the bubble popping. And is this analogous to the .com, boom and bust and et cetera? My vantage point is, I think that the difference between now and the .com period is you actually have like real revenue tied to the companies that are, going crazy, these crazy high valuations, in the same way that you didn't have with like pets.com, right? It was like, hey, these people got a great domain, but they're burning a lot of cash and you're not necessarily seeing kind of revenue or bottom line impact. So to that, to that perspective, I feel like we're still in, again, this is not financial advice for anybody watching, but we're still in a pocket of probably higher returns and gains, assuming that players like Nvidia or Microsoft have like a really down, earnings. And so I feel like we're still kind of in a pocket where, the AI trade is on crazy. The only other thing that I think could impact the current markets is, some type of exogenous event, like some world conflict or, some country going in, Taiwan going into, or China going into Taiwan, or the U.S. going to war with Venezuela, or we're off their coast. Like, who the heck knows what's going on with that? Some kind of crazy world event, but this trade seems to be,
Atlas AI or 3i or whatever that meteor that's crossing you. So
that's right. Yeah. I was just reading about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff happening right now. Yeah, I agree. It seems like we're set up for another run here, but it's also like the whole be fearful when everyone's greedy, right? Like this is it seems like, if we just talked about it, it feels eerily similar to like, hey, I should be nervous right now. I should not do anything drastic, but at the same time, it's like FOMO. I don't want to miss out, because I think you're right. The big difference between this and crypto is the crypto, we still didn't see a good use case. Like, it wasn't in the marketplace. It wasn't like you're using crypto to buy things and it's like has this omnipresence of AI. Like, we're using it every day. We're seeing it in the
Right.
tools that we're using in work and everything. It's like your life is integrated with AI now. So that's I think that's the difference for me, where I feel a little more comfortable. Like, hey, this is really I see it in work. I see everyone talking about it and using it, and it really making an impact.
Yeah.
So I
And these companies' earnings are better than ever. Like they're better than they've ever been.
yeah
All these reports, like
yes
they're not slipping the growth trajectory. Even if it's not as crazy as it was last quarter, it's still quite crazy relative to, you know, year over year performance and projection. So
yeah, it seems like I mean the thing I was going to ask you, what we talked about, what will sort of disrupt it, but what about what is going to make it go even more, I don't know,
I
not just
think
good, but even more up and to the right.
for sure, I think that a lot of the gains in the AI trade have been concentrated within the Mag Seven and other companies. But I think if you see these other either storage companies or other sectors start to apply applications of AI that make them more efficient, reduce operating costs, we actually see the benefits kind of dispersing out to other parts of the economy, then I think it has more room to run because there's not as much concentration risk in Nvidia saying, "Hey, I'm not re-upping on this Oracle purchase," or like Oracle saying, "I'm no longer investing in OpenAI or whatever else," right? Because I'm sure you've seen one of those charts where it's like all the different deals that are being done between the different companies and how cash flows are basically moving around. But I think that can kind of work when things are riding high. But I think the other companies, if they start to also perform really well and they're leveraging these AI use cases and making their businesses more efficient and more profitable, then I think that's a bull case that, hey, this actually is the right trend. We are going to see these annual gains, and it's going to impact more areas of the economy.
Yeah, this is wild. This feels similar and also very different in that sense, right? It's like, all right, we're gonna see a shift right now, and how we see it is still up in the air. It seems like it definitely has .com and crypto vibes, but like even more so. So
Yeah.
um, on that news front, the other one I saw that I thought we should talk about was Walmart partnering with OpenAI, and OpenAI is creating its own browser. I thought those two things was interesting in that, are we going to start seeing ads in our chat GPT, like integrating Walmart and having them, sort of surface more Walmart um, content is, yeah, that feels a little dicey. Especially you're going to throw in a browser. Are we going to now be served more Walmart unconsciously through AI to be reminded to use Walmart? Like, what are your thoughts there?
I think some version of that will absolutely happen. When you have the hundreds of billions of dollars that OpenAI has raised, where only $1 trillion valuations and outcomes can make sense based on that capital, they have to figure out ways to monetize, right? So like
Right.
ads are 100% coming. They're going to be doing more enterprise deals and contracts. They have the app marketplace. They're going to be doing their own play of the Apple App Store and trying to monetize through that. I mean, they're opening up the type of conversations that I have on the platform now for AI, sex, companion chats, et cetera, to so they have to monetize and they're going to do whatever they can there. So I think that that will definitely, ads are definitely coming across all of these platforms. It'll be interesting to see what they do in free versus pro versions. Like I'm on the pro version right now. I don't want to be encumbered with ads. I'm willing to pay the $20. I'll probably be willing relative to my workflows and how I use the platform, probably up to like $50 right now per month relative to the amount of value I get from it. But it's absolutely coming, and uh, it kind of leads to the question of, all right, well, will this ultimately be any better than the prior platforms that we've been using,
Right.
like a Google search? Um, I think that the productivity gains are much higher now than they were kind of pre ChatGPT, at least in terms of my own productivity. That being said, in terms of like ads and is that part a better experience, et cetera, I don't know. I'm reticent to say that that part's going to be better because these companies got to monetize, and that's been the most tried and true way to do it since that's existed as a format.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious how they're going to integrate because it is a question. How do the subscription thing will take you so far, but ads is where you really can have a higher ceiling in terms of revenue. I'm really curious how they're going to integrate ads into ChatGPT and how they surface it. Striking a deal with Walmart to like crawl their site and be basically doing SEO for AI is fascinating.
Yeah.
What they're going to do with that is ultimately what they claim they're not going to run ads, but it just points to like how they do it. It might be semantics. You're not calling them ads, but ultimately it's going to be you're surfacing it Walmart to more consumers, right? Like that's the
He,
only way.
I think so. And here's my analog, right? So, well, we both worked at companies where they were reticent to push ads in a meaningful way. It's about kind of subs. We were both together at Twitch, at Discord. Like we're never going to run ads there. They started run ads in that business, and it's because if you're doing a model where a relatively small percentage of your user base has to drive a increasingly outsized amount of revenue. And I wonder if you would co-sign these numbers. It's typically 1 to 3%. If you got 5% of people who are paying, who are doing stuff like that, you're really crushing it. But you typically don't even get that. So it's a huge strain on the model. So I don't think there is like a world where you don't have some type of ads tier that exists. In terms of how it gets surfaced, maybe it will be a little better, at least initially, in that you won't get too many ads at once. Like if you go to Google search, you're just hit by half the page when you're scrolling is ads,
Yeah,
right? Like, and you have the AI generated content, which is somewhat helpful. But if you're trying to do, any kind of like research, or it's just a bad having these new tools now. It's just a bad experience. So I imagine
right.
they won't throttle it in a crazy way at first, but they will ultimately. And as you get more function features and capabilities, the free tier will look more and more like Google search, I bet.
Right.
But and initially, I think it will be, at least from a UI perspective, more elegant at first.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope they keep it on productivity, because that ultimately is why we're using AI. But maybe there is a. I mean, there has to be a world where you surfacing products and things are helpful for the consumers and for the businesses, right? Like there are times where you're like, I'm literally looking for a product. Help me.
Yeah,
That's where ChatGPT seems like it could.
I think so. I'm curious to get your opinion on how quickly agentic interactions could kind of change the paradigm there as well, though, because
Yeah.
if you have this interface, we're assuming that we, the human beings, are getting served ads, or that like
Right. Right.
we're the audience. I think very quickly, next 4 or 5 years, maybe 50% of your interactions are with the agent that you're using
Right.
to leverage all these platforms. So, do you have any perspective on that? Like how that could change
Yeah. I mean,
that
it's
touch
like
points? Yeah,
the prompt that you use, similar to the prompt you use today. Like you need to really put guardrails on your agent, right? Like because
yeah,
if they don't know any better, they're just gonna listen to the ads and be like, "Yeah, you wanted this.
mm-hmm.
That's just gonna buy it from Walmart because you didn't say not to. You didn't tell me not to. So I'm gonna follow the AI um, path and
Yeah,
choose to subscribe the one that benefits me as a platform, right? If your agent is part of Chat GPT and Chat GPT has a deal with Walmart, it's going to serve you those things.
that's right.
It makes sense, right? Like I think, and maybe that's not a bad thing. I don't even know. It seems like it should at least give you the option. It is scary though. Like if you're going to subscribe to things, you're going to need to clearly state, hey, every month I want these things, but I also need to make sure they're the lowest price, the most da, 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 all of the things. You're gonna have to probably
Mm-hmm.
list them all out and review them every month. Otherwise, your agent could just go off cuff and start doing all these affiliate things for ChatGPT.
That will likely happen. Here's what I think will happen to combat against that. I think there will be entire marketplaces of prompts that you are able to buy and to add into your LLM, like in your settings, of how you want your agent to react. So if you
Yeah.
say, I was on the lowest price, I don't like these retailers, like never buy from Target as an example, and never take these interactions. Always send me something or send a summary. Double check it, think deeply. Again, I'm not a master prompter, but I think that's the only thing that will allow you to kind of protect yourself in some
Yeah.
ways, or at least not make the experience of the back and forth more onerous than it would have been if you just took those
Right.
actions.
Or
Yeah,
it could really take into your account your history.
yes,
If you're willing to upload your browsing history and your purchasing history, then it could model it after you and be like, hey, I've purchased these things because you have a history of buying from them, and then
yep,
I'm going to do these few checks. But as a default, I'm gonna if you always use Amazon, I'm going to use Amazon too. Um, but yeah, that's going to be really interesting. I'm not sure
yeah,
where we pan out with this, or if it's good or bad, but that does seem like that's where we're going. It's just a
yeah.
matter of when and how.
And maybe just to pull in start a little more in terms of where things could go. If this is ultimately where interactions trend, like you won't really be spending any time on websites.
No.
Like your only real interactions will be the LLMs and then them scraping information that exists without you actually visiting. And if you think about that interaction path, and you think about any company, any platform that requires advertising revenues themselves in order for their models to work, or any kind of like more immersive experiences where they're trying to create a bespoke experience that's like not necessarily tied directly into ChatGPT, they're cooked, man. I
Yeah.
mean, it makes it make it incredibly hard to make those business models work.
And you can see a world where they've talked about having the glasses with the vocal with the earbud combination where you don't need your phone anymore. That
No.
stuff that feels much more realistic now than even 6 months ago. Like you could literally talk to your agent and be like, "Hey, help me. I need whatever. Need detergent. What are the options? I need to go grocery shopping. Here's my list." You could just talk your way through things
Mm-hmm.
versus looking them up, deciding what you want. It's like very close,
Mm-hmm.
which is why everyone I think is so bullish on all of this stuff. Like it's really good.
I I think if you play out the bull case, like the bull case, which I think is kind of what we're making now through this discovery process, it's basically just a function of how quickly will consumer behaviors shift. Because if
Right.
they shift relative, I think the people out in Silicon Valley would say they're going to shift pretty quickly. If they shift really quickly, then okay, what are you going to need to drive all those interactions and agents talking to each other and everything going on? You're going to need insane compute. You're
Yeah.
going to need
Absolutely.
you're going to need data centers that are as big as Manhattan, right? You're going to need like these chips to be manufactured in companies like AMD and Nvidia will become even uh, more
Right.
valuable than they are
Well,
now. So
I mean, the thing that I come to is like the SEO. Like instead of proving to people that you have the right product and the thing with a pretty website and like credibility
mm-hmm.
through all these, it's you're going to need to prove to an AI agent that your product is what's needed for your customer, which is
Yes,
like much more. It seems much more objective, right? Like I don't need a fancy an AI agent isn't going to be like, hey, they've got a fancy website.
yeah.
It's beautiful. It appeases to my sensory. It's not going to matter. It doesn't sound like that's going to matter. So all the resources and building and designing and all these things seem like it's going to be more, I don't know, systematic. Is
I
that
think
right?
for like commonplace goods and services, if you're buying, certain food products or, everyday household items, et cetera. But I think what it may also do is if you're doing any type of like video based marketing or product selling,
Right.
um, your ability to create very, very unique content that speaks to consumers like that's a skill set that I think becomes even more important, right? Because not everybody's going to be just using the LMs. They're still going to be on TikTok. They're still going to be on these other platforms being sold to through video. I don't think that's going
Right.
anywhere. And so though via those systems, you're just going to have to be excellent at creating content that cuts through the noise.
Through the noise. Yeah, I mean, we're heading into like it seems like a phase where we're in between. There's going to be a lot of people that are old school, and a lot of people that are going to need AI. So you're going to need to upkeep both for a little while, right? Like
That's right.
because some people are still going to go old school and type in the URL and look around and want
Mm-hmm.
that comfort. Other people are going to ask their agent to do it, and then your businesses are going to be like, well, now I got to do two things. Now I'm just
Mm-hmm.
adding work to get same business, and that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's like the transition to the internet, the transition to mobile.
Yeah,
You just need to adapt your business
yellowpages.com.
model.
Yeah,
Yep,
yellowpages.com, right? Like everyone, that's always a reference for like boomers coming onto the internet. It's like, let's move the yellow pages online. It's like, yeah, this is now we're moving yellow pages into AI. So
that's right.
how this pans out? And what have you heard about the browser and Atlas? Like I know that was announced. Like
I
with
oh
Chrome
oh
competing with Safari, like what's going on?
yeah, I think so. Basically, OpenAI, they unveiled ChatGPT Atlas. It's their first ever AI browser. It's basically competing against like Perplexity's Comet, but also Chrome, right? And ultimately, it's like another entry point that ChatGPT's 800 million users have to to the internet. And it's
Right.
not just about the browser itself, but locking ChatGPT more and more into users' daily workflows, right? And so um, instead of using search links, basically you ask questions directly into the address bar, and then ChatGPT will answer. They'll summarize the page. They'll offer references to websites, and it's basically a Google without the links type of experience, which I think is really interesting. So again, they're basically just creating like another version of kind of an operating system that is outside of ChatGPT. And the browsers are a huge part of how people do searches. So it's a direct competition against Google. And if they nail it, even makes it more difficult for these legacy players to compete. But Google don't count Google out, right? Like they can probably just turn on some of these capabilities with their own browser and do well. I think the problem with Google is it's just not a great marketing branding company. Just to keep it 100,
Yeah.
So I think they're going to have challenges with the whole consumer play and getting people to adopt it in the same way. Because frankly, if they were executing at the level they should have, frankly, none of these other players should be able to come in the space
Yeah.
because
Right.
of the distribution and because of the data that they have and because of the touch points they have with consumers. So something's off, and I think it's
One
brand, and I
one
think it's
interesting
trust.
thing that I found out this week, my daughter, 12 years old, at schools, they're doing have AI in class now.
Hmm.
And I was like, show me what are you learning? I'm curious. And hers, their Google, it's all Google. It's all Gemini based. And it's like the teacher sets up an agent for them and can teach them math, English, whatever it is, they have their own prompt. And it's all
Yeah.
based in Google, which I found interesting, right? So she's learning through Google,
Yeah.
so that maybe that's where they're, at the grassroots level, at the school level, it's Google Classroom.
Yep.
Gemini is the AI agent. You're teaching kids how to use it, which I think is fascinating. I don't know. I mean, they do give all the schools Chromebooks and get you familiar with their ecosystem. So I don't know. I mean, like I said earlier, when my daughter was looking at phones, she was like, "I like the Pixel," and part of me is like, "I wonder if it's because you're Google Chrome and you've been in Google and you're using Gmail and like you're in that
Yeah.
ecosystem."
Mm-hmm.
But I find that interesting, right? Like it's not, if classrooms and schools are teaching Google, maybe there's an advantage there. I don't know.
No, I think they definitely do have a distribution advantage relative to the relationships that they have with schools and like school systems. And in fact, people are using Chromebooks, and they probably they have like a very strong Google Education
Yeah,
GTM motion. I think the only thing they could compete against that is on the day to day kind of consumer search behavior and what they're seeing on social, et cetera. They get exposed to ChatGPT, for example, and then they get comfortable with that, and they say, "Oh, this Google thing is cool, but I'm just going to use that for school. Everything else, I'm going to use. I'm
yeah.
going to use
That's
ChatGPT."
where my thing is. When you're forced to use something, it feels different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. Well, you mentioned Perplexity earlier. What's the latest on them? I know Reddit versus Perplexity. What's that?
Yeah, maybe we just touch on this quickly at the end here. So basically, Reddit is suing Perplexity, alleging that they, along with three other firms, have been illegally scraping information from Reddit's platform to train
Oh,
their Perplexity answers engine. And they're saying that the way that Perplexity did this to kind of was to go through these scraping company intermediaries, which will allow them to kind of like mask their identity and hide locations, basically bypass Reddit's protections to still scrape content indirectly from Google search. And the reason why this is such a big deal for Reddit is because you think about how they monetize through advertising, but then also through selling their data to these research labs that are using it for training. So they have a deal with OpenAI. I think they have a deal with some other players as well. That's a huge part of their monetization engine. So basically, what they're saying is these folks are coming in as like bank robbers. They're scraping the data. Perplexity says, "Hey, this is open internet. We should be able to pull. We're just um, kind of doing AI answer engine stuff like any of these other players. What's wrong with that?" And so there's a lot of tension that is leading to these pretty significant court cases that'll be coming up. So there's one in January between Perplexity and Anthropic, and then this is a new court case that will be solved at some point between Reddit and Perplexity. And frankly, the outcomes will have significant impacts on the nature of like the open internet, what it means, what it means to kind of control human made content, how walled gardens work, what is what you can leverage within your own LLMs or not. So watch the space on the legal implications of some of these court cases because they will have a material impact
hmm.
on the trajectory.
I love it. That's interesting. Yeah, it seems like a real conundrum there, right? Because it's like that's their business, Reddit's business, but it's also the open internet, which
Yeah.
someone's scraping it. If you're scraping the data and using it the same way that they are, it seems like a conflict. But
Yeah.
it's open AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not so open.
Not so open.
It's not
Not so
open, but
open after all.
yeah, it seems like that's just the path that if you're a for-profit business, it's hard to have an a data structure like that.
Especially now when that data is really the only moat that you have left.
Yeah, that's what you're feeding all these engines, right? So it's pretty wild, scary times. Appreciate your time. We're at 30 minutes. If you have any comments, suggestions, you guys know what to do. Follow, like us. It's free. Justin's LinkedIn. I'll link all of that below. I don't think I've done that in a while. We'll make sure all that's out there. And yeah, we'll catch you next week.
Always fun, my brother.